The burgundy leather booth had witnessed 1,000 meals, 1,000 conversations, but none quite like this one. Thomas sat rigid in his navy suit, his hands clasped so tightly on the white tablecloth that his knuckles had gone pale. Across from him, his father Richard reached for the plate the server was offering, his movements casual, almost theatrical in their ease. "I'll take that one, sweetheart," Richard said, his voice carrying that familiar boom that had once made Thomas feel protected. Now it just made him feel small. The young woman serving them, Emma, her name tag read, held the plate steady despite the weight of the tension she'd walked into. She was maybe 23, working her way through college probably, and Thomas could see in her careful, neutral expression that she'd been trained to be invisible during family drama. He wondered how many scenes like this she'd witnessed in this upscale Manhattan restaurant. Thomas had chosen Lombardi's deliberately. It was public enough that his father couldn't make a scene, prestigious enough that Richard would feel obligated to come, and expensive enough that the gravity of what Thomas needed to say would be clear. This wasn't a casual conversation. This was an ending. "Dad," Thomas began, his voice barely above a whisper. "Not yet," Richard cut him off, accepting the plate from Emma with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Let's at least wait until after we order. Emma here doesn't need to hear whatever melodrama you've prepared for today." Emma's cheeks flushed slightly, and she hurried away, grateful for the escape. Thomas watched her go, envying her ability to simply walk away from this table, from this moment, from the man who had shaped and scarred him in equal measure. The restaurant hummed with the quiet conversations of the wealthy and powerful. Lombardi's had been a family tradition for 3 generations of Whitmore men. Thomas's grandfather had brought his father here. His father had brought him. It was where they celebrated victories, where business deals were sealed with handshakes over ribeye steaks, where the Whitmore legacy was discussed and debated and passed down like an heirloom. Today, Thomas was here to give it all back. "You look thin," Richard observed, finally looking at his son properly. "Are you eating? That apartment you insisted on getting in Brooklyn, do you even have a proper kitchen?" "Dad, I need to tell you something. I know what you need to tell me, Thomas." Richard's voice dropped, losing its jovial edge. "You think I don't know? You think I haven't seen it, coming for months?" Thomas felt his heart hammering against his ribs. He'd rehearsed this conversation 100 times in his therapist's office, in front of his bathroom mirror, during long walks across the Brooklyn Bridge when Manhattan glittered before him like a cage made of lights. "Then you know I can't do it anymore," Thomas said. "I can't be who you want me to be. I can't take over the firm. I can't marry Catherine. I can't pretend that my life belongs to you just because your life belonged to your father." Richard's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. To anyone else in the restaurant, he would have looked perfectly composed. But Thomas had spent 28 years learning to read the micro-expressions on his father's face, the subtle shifts that preceded storms. "You think you're the first Whitmore to have doubts?" Richard asked quietly. "You think I didn't have moments where I wanted to run, where I wondered what else I could have been? Then why didn't you?" The words came out more desperately than Thomas had intended. "Because I was a man, Thomas. Because I understood that what we want and what we need are often 2 different things. Because I knew that the freedom you think you're chasing is just another word for selfishness dressed up in therapy speak." Emma returned with bread and butter, placing the basket between them like a peace offering. She was careful not to make eye contact with either man. The oil paintings on the walls, hunting scenes, pastoral landscapes, seemed to lean in to listen. "Is that what you think this is?" Thomas asked after Emma had retreated again. "Selfishness? What else would you call it? You have every advantage a man could want. A position waiting for you at one of the most prestigious law firms in the city, a beautiful woman from a good family who loves you, a name that opens doors. And you want to throw it all away to do what? Write poetry? Paint? Find yourself?" Thomas flinched. His father had discovered his notebook 6 months ago, had read the poems Thomas had been working on since college. The violation still burned. "I want to be honest," Thomas said, "about who I am, about what I want from life. Honest." Richard spat the word like it tasted bitter. "Let me tell you about honesty, son. Honesty is a luxury. Honesty is what people claim they want until they're faced with the actual truth of things, that life requires compromise, that we all play roles, that sometimes love means sacrifice. Love shouldn't require sacrificing who you are. Grow up, Thomas. Everyone sacrifices who they are. That's what it means to be an adult. Your mother sacrificed her art career. I sacrificed. He stopped abruptly, his expression hardening further. It doesn't matter what I sacrificed. The point is, we do it. We do it because some things are bigger than our individual desires. Thomas thought about his mother, about the painting she'd stopped making, about how she'd slowly disappeared into the role of Mrs. Richard Whitmore, until there was hardly anything left of the girl from Ohio who dreamed of showing in galleries. He'd found her old canvases in the attic last Christmas. Bold, wild, beautiful things that bore no resemblance to the careful, curated life she now led. I don't want to disappear, Thomas said softly. You're not disappearing. You're becoming. There's a difference. Becoming what? A copy of you? Another man in a suit sitting in restaurants like this, pretending everything is fine while dying inside? Richard's face finally cracked, anger breaking through. You ungrateful! He caught himself, glancing around the restaurant, remembering where they were. When he spoke again, his voice was controlled but cold as winter. Do you have any idea what I've built for you? The life I've secured? The future I've protected? I never asked for any of it. You didn't have to ask. That's what fathers do. We build, we plan, we ensure our children don't have to struggle the way we did. But I need to struggle, Dad. Don't you see? I need to fail on my own terms rather than succeed on yours. Emma appeared again, this time to take their orders. Richard ordered the ribeye, medium rare, exactly as he always did. Thomas ordered a salad he had no intention of eating. The ritual felt absurd, pretending they were here for a meal when what they were really doing was dismantling their relationship piece by piece. After Emma left, Richard reached into his jacket pocket and withdrew a small black box. He placed it on the table between them with the careful precision of a chess player making a decisive move. Your grandfather's cufflinks, Richard said. I was going to give them to you at the engagement party. They've been passed down for 4 generations. They're yours now. Wear them when you take Catherine to dinner this weekend. Wear them when you tell her you're ready to set a date. Thomas stared at the box like it was a coiled snake. Those cufflinks represented everything. The weight of expectation, the chain of inheritance, the unspoken demand that he become another link in an endless succession of Whitmore men doing what Whitmore men do. I broke up with Catherine 3 weeks ago, Thomas said. I told her the truth, about me, about what I want, about who I really am. The silence that followed was so complete that Thomas could hear his own heartbeat, could hear the clink of silverware at distant tables, could hear the muted jazz playing through invisible speakers. You told her, Richard finally said, his voice hollow. I told her everything. About Marcus, about the fact that I'm in love with him, about how I've been lying to everyone, including myself, for years because I was terrified of this exact moment. When everything falls apart, a family story of survival. The camera captured what words often fail to express. A family holding on by a thread. Mark and Sarah Henderson sat on their living room couch, their 2 daughters behind them, in what would become the most vulnerable moment of their lives shared with the world. This wasn't a carefully staged photo shoot. This was raw reality, frozen in time. The collapse. Just 18 months earlier, the Hendersons were living comfortably in suburban Michigan. Mark worked as an engineer at an automotive supplier, a job he'd held for 9 years. Sarah balanced part-time work as a dental hygienist with raising their daughters, 9-year-old Chloe and 7-year-old Mia. They weren't wealthy, but they were secure. They had a modest home, reliable cars, and enough left over for family vacations and the girls' activities. Then the dominoes started falling. It began with Mark's back injury, a herniated disc that progressively worsened until he could barely stand for more than 20 minutes. Surgery was recommended, but the recovery time was 6 months. Mark took medical leave, expecting to return to work once he healed. He never got that chance. While Mark was recovering, his company lost their major contract. Layoffs swept through the organization like wildfire. Mark received the news while still in physical therapy. His position had been eliminated. After 9 years of dedication, he was out. The timing couldn't have been worse. Mark was still recovering, unable to take on physical work. Sarah increased her hours, but her part-time income couldn't cover their mortgage, car payments, insurance, and mounting medical bills. Their savings evaporated within 3 months. The downward spiral Sarah watched their life unravel with horrifying speed. First, they missed a mortgage payment, then another. Credit card minimums became impossible to meet. The car was repossessed on a Tuesday morning while Chloe and Mia watched from the living room window, confused and frightened. "Where's Daddy's car going?" Mia asked, her small voice trembling. Sarah didn't know how to explain that they couldn't afford to keep it anymore. How do you tell a 7-year-old that everything they've known as stable is crumbling? Mark spiraled into depression. The physical pain from his injury was manageable compared to the emotional agony of watching his family suffer because he couldn't provide. He applied for jobs obsessively, but the market was saturated with experienced engineers, many younger and willing to work for less. The rejection emails became a daily torture. Sarah tried to hold everything together, but the weight was crushing. She worked longer hours, took on extra shifts, and spent her nights calculating numbers that never added up to anything hopeful. She stopped sleeping well. She stopped eating regularly. Her smile, once so easy, became something she had to consciously construct for her daughter's sake. The girls noticed everything. Chloe, perceptive and sensitive, started having nightmares. Mia became clingy and anxious, crying at drop-offs and struggling in school. The stress in their home was palpable, hanging in the air like smoke. Rock bottom. The foreclosure notice arrived 6 months after Mark lost his job. They had 60 days to leave their home, the place where both girls had taken their first steps, where birthday parties and Christmas mornings had created a tapestry of happy memories. Sarah found Mark in the garage, sitting in the dark, the notice crumpled in his hand. His shoulders shook with silent sobs. "I've destroyed our family," he whispered. "Everything we built. I destroyed it." "No," Sarah said firmly, kneeling beside him. "Life destroyed it. Bad luck destroyed it. But we're still here, Mark. We're still a family. That's what matters." But even as she said the words, Sarah wasn't sure she believed them. How could they be a family without a home? How could they protect their children from this trauma? How could they survive? They swallowed their pride and asked for help. Sarah's brother offered his basement, unfinished, cramped, but free. They moved in with 3 suitcases of belongings, most of their possessions sold or stored. The girls shared an air mattress. Mark and Sarah slept on a donated futon. Privacy was non-existent. Dignity felt like a luxury they'd lost along with everything else. The turning point. That's when Live on Purpose, a nonprofit organization focused on family resilience, reached out. They were documenting families navigating financial hardship, and someone had connected them with the Hendersons. "We want to show that good families can face bad circumstances," the program director explained. "Your story could help others feel less alone." Mark was reluctant. Wasn't it bad enough to be living this nightmare without broadcasting it to the world? But Sarah saw it differently. "If our pain can help even one family feel less ashamed, isn't it worth it?" she asked. So they agreed to the photo and interview. The day of the shoot, they borrowed Sarah's brother's couch, trying to create a sense of normalcy. Mark wore a button-down shirt. Sarah put on makeup for the first time in weeks. They wanted to look put together, even though they felt shattered. But the photographer asked them to just be real. "Don't perform," she said gently, "just be." So they sat together, exhausted, worried, but still united. Chloe and Mia positioned themselves behind their parents, instinctively seeking the comfort of closeness. The camera captured the weariness in Mark's eyes, the determined set of Sarah's jaw, the innocence of children affected by circumstances beyond their understanding. The tips that saved them. In the interview, the Hendersons shared the hard-won wisdom from their darkest period. "Communicate honestly. We started telling each other the truth about how scared we were," Sarah explained. "That vulnerability brought us closer instead of driving us apart. Ask for help early. We waited." "Too long," Mark admitted. "By the time we asked for help, we were in crisis. Don't let pride delay reaching out to family, friends, or community resources. Focus on controllables. I couldn't control the job market or our financial situation," Mark said. "But I could control my attitude and my commitment to my family. That focus saved me from complete despair. Protect your relationship. In crisis, It's easy to become roommates managing problems instead of partners supporting each other, Sarah noted. We had to intentionally connect, even when we were exhausted. Be age-appropriately honest with kids. Our girls knew something was wrong, Sarah said. Being honest helped reduce their anxiety and taught them about resilience. Redefine success. Success became getting through another day together, Mark explained. Small victories matter when you're in survival mode. Find purpose in pain. We chose to let this experience teach us rather than destroy us, Sarah said. That choice made all the difference. The response. When their story went public, the response overwhelmed them. Thousands of people shared similar experiences: job loss, medical crisis, foreclosure. The messages poured in from families who had felt alone in their shame and suddenly realized they weren't. "Thank you for your bravery," one message read. "You helped me ask my family for help instead of losing everything first. Your story saved my marriage," another person wrote. "We were blaming each other. Seeing your unity gave us hope." More tangibly, Mark received job leads from people who saw the story. One led to an interview, which led to a position as a project coordinator. Not his old salary, but enough to start rebuilding. Where they are now, a year after that photo was taken, the Hendersons moved into a small rental house. It's modest, but it's theirs. The girls have their own room again. Sarah and Mark sleep in an actual bedroom with a door that closes. Mark's job isn't glamorous, but it's stable. Sarah continues working, and they're slowly paying down debt. They'll probably never own a home again, at least not for many years. Their credit is damaged, their savings non-existent, their retirement plans derailed. But they're together, they're surviving, and slowly, carefully, they're beginning to believe in the possibility of thriving again. Chloe still worries more than a 10-year-old should. Mia has separation anxiety. Mark battles depression. Sarah struggles with financial PTSD, panicking at unexpected expenses. Recovery isn't linear or complete, the scars remain, but so does the love. So does the resilience. So does the family that refused to break, even when everything else did. The message: if the Hendersons could speak to families in crisis today, they would say this: you are not alone. You are not failures. Your struggle doesn't define your worth or your family's value. Ask for help. Be honest with each other. Focus on what you can control. Celebrate small victories. Choose purpose over victimhood. These tips won't solve all your problems. They won't pay your bills or eliminate your stress, but they might help you survive with your family intact, your dignity preserved, and your hope still flickering. And sometimes survival is enough. Sometimes survival is everything. The photo of the Henderson family remains a powerful testament to the strength of ordinary people facing extraordinary hardship. Behind the weary eyes and brave faces is a story that thousands of American families live every day. A story of loss, struggle, perseverance, and the enduring power of family love. They didn't choose this struggle, but they chose how to face it. That choice changed everything.